Hey, good afternoon, folks. Chief Meteorologist Nick Lilly here with a look at your tropical update brought to you by the good folks at Tropical Pool and Spa. And, hey, we made it to the peak of hurricane season, September 10th, hanging out, and, man, do we have a lot to talk about. We've got plenty of warm water out there, and not only the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, but also into the open Atlantic. And because of that, and because it's the peak of hurricane season, we've got a lot to talk about. We've got Invest 95L, which is in the Northwest Caribbean. We've got Florence, Hurricane Florence, now a Category 4. We've got Hurricane Isaac, still a Category 1. And we've got Helene, which I believe at last check, I can double check this real quick, should be a Cat 2, may even be a Category 3 storm. Nope, just still a Category 2. Alright, well, there you go. Right? Category 2. Hold on, let me double check this. Category 2. Okay, good. So we'll dive right in here, and we'll pull the latest data from the National Hurricane Center. Still watching Invest 95L, not because it's going to affect us, but just to make sure that it's not. A 30 to 50% chance of development as we head through the next 2 to 5 days. That mainly in the Northwest Caribbean. Then we've got, again, the trifecta of hurricanes out here. Florence, slated to be a Category 4. As it moves ashore somewhere near the Carolinas. They're nailing down closer and closer and closer where this is going to go. The idea is right now somewhere along the Carolina coast, but notice that there's still an outside chance that maybe it's a little further to the north, a little further to the south. Wind at 140, gusting to 155. Finally starting to gain latitude at west-northwest at 13. 939 on the millibar. 993 for Hurricane Isaac, moving off to the west at 14 miles an hour, wind at 75. So it's barely holding on to hurricane status. Gusting to 90, still 1,100 miles off to the east of the Lesser Antilles. As this moves into the Caribbean, it's going to get sheared apart a little bit. We still have to watch this. However, I will have some good news for everybody coming up here in a couple of seconds. Helene's not going to bother anybody. It's mainly a fish storm. Thought is it'll be a Category 3 as we head through later this evening. Current wind speed at 105 miles an hour. Once it passes 110, that'll make it a Category 3, moving west-northwest. Also at 14 miles an hour. Pressure down to 974 as it passed by the Cape Verde Islands. We still have more waves back here. We've got one back in behind Helene, and then another one back in behind that, and another one back in behind that. Yesterday I was talking about how it looked like maybe the waves were going to be slowing down, but that may not be the case. Okay, the good news that I have with Isaac. Now, last 3, 4, 5 days, I've been saying, okay, all the lines really close together as we get into the Caribbean. Not as close together, so our level of uncertainty is a little bit higher. That's maybe not the greatest news. But the level of certainty that this thing starts to turn is getting a little higher, as the last couple of days, all the lines have been very close together. Recall, as it's moved here, let me do this, as it moved from east to west, they were all very close together, and maybe one or two went to the north. Now they're a little more spread apart, a little more uncertainty, but all of them, save the H-Wharf and a couple of the GEFS models, most of these turn this thing north at one point or another. We'll have to see when that happens and how far north it turns. We've also got spaghetti plots on Invest 95L. This one mainly looks to be a Texas or Mexico problem, maybe even into parts of Louisiana. I think we probably see a little bit of rain from this. But in terms of direct effects for us, or direct impacts for us, at least as of this moment, very minimal, very minimal. Our GFS, 700 millibar moisture, 850 vorticity, of course we can ID everybody. All the players are on the map. We've got Isaac, we've got Helene, we've got Florence, we've got 95L, we've got the next wave that's coming off the coast of Africa. All of the players are on the field. This one takes it to northwest and toward Louisiana and Texas. We've got Florence moving west-northwest. Helene's tilting up that direction, and Isaac continues this way. And then we're still watching the wave coming off the coast here. As we move through Friday morning, this is when most of the models and the National Hurricane Center tends to think somewhere between Wednesday night and Friday morning that it's going to start to impact the Carolinas. We've got 95L going toward Texas, still watching Isaac, Helene staying out to sea,
And then this is an interesting little thing. This isn't going to bother us. This is more for you weather enthusiasts. But a little area of low pressure develops out here. We'll have to see what happens with that. Dry air tries to take back over out here into the open Atlantic. That would help us out quite a bit. If that is the case, notice that Isaac turns, Helene gets roped into a bunch of dry air. A bunch of it moves across parts of the Atlantic. We lose a lot of the waves coming off. This would be great news, and we've got dry air funneling this direction from Canada toward parts of South Mississippi and Louisiana and Alabama, which would also be good news. Welcome news for the end of all of this summertime heat, at least for a day or two. So there's your tropical update brought to you by the good folks at Tropical Pool and Spa for September 10th, the peak of hurricane season 2018.